Chapter 5, The Pool. The day before had been quite eventful, so I decided to dedicate today entirely to laziness. Tomorrow, I would have to roll up my sleeves again and get back to work. After all, I had a company to run. If it hadn't been for Jen's future, I would never have allowed myself this kind of break. But I had no choice than hand over part of my duties to Marjetka. She had helped me build it and had been with me every step of the way, so I knew I was leaving things in a good hand. Plus I was tired. I haven't been on a vacation since I started my company. I got a short break, well, let's call it that. My son adjusted. And now it was time to dive back into business life again. Almost. Just one more day for myself. I had already completed my morning ritual, a cup of homemade tea with honey and toast. And after the run, a big cup of strong, black Turkish coffee that I was already putting on my sneakers when I noticed movement on the neighboring terrace. He was already on the path between the gardens, so I tried to see which direction he would take. Once I was sure he was far enough, I left as well. I turned the same way he had, then by the stream I veered onto the longer path around the pond. I spent quite a while in the park, worked up a good sweat and returned home pleasantly exhausted, where my coffee was still waiting for me. Now cold, but I didn't mind. It was Sunday, a beautiful spring day. Mark was home. Sun was bright. Birds were singing, bees collecting honey from flowers. And me, in the shade on a sun lounger. What could be better? My thoughts drifted. Well, something could be even better. Mark in my arms. Entangled bodies. His touch on my bare skin. I murmured dreamily. If only I had known that someone from the neighboring terrace was watching me intensely. As if sensing where my thoughts had drifted, desire reflected in his gaze as well. The same longing for touch. Tense muscles under a tight shirt betrayed him. His entire body was rigid, almost in a cramp. He gripped the railing tightly, barely restraining himself from jumping over it. And I noticed none of it. I didn't see him. I didn't see the tension in his posture. Not the way he stood there, eyes locked on me. I had no idea that our thoughts were only a fraction of what was coming. Hours passed. The day slowly slipped into evening. Only one thing was missing for the perfect end of the day. The pool. A night swim in a softly lit pool. Just me, the stars, and my thoughts. Wrapped in my bathrobe, towel in hand, I walked toward the pool and slowly slipped into the water. Perfect. Warm enough to melt the day away. A few strokes forward, a few back. Floating, moving, breathing. The pool wasn't big, yet it didn't bother me. It was just right for relaxing. In the neighbor's house, everything was dark, so I assumed he wasn't home or was already asleep. How wrong I was. He wasn't home. And he wasn't asleep either. And I was no longer alone. He was there. At the edge of the pool. Watching me. Slowly, deliberately, he was undressing, all the while keeping his eyes fixed on me without a break. Like he wanted me to see him. To notice him. I didn't, not at first. Only the rippling of the water snapped me out of my thoughts. He stepped closer. Each step erased the distance between us. Until he stopped right beside me. Tall and broad-shouldered. And way too close. Water slid over his body. With wet hands, he ran through his messy hair, sending drops of water cascading down. They slid slowly over his shoulders, across his chest, down his torso, and lower, before disappearing into the pool's surface again. My gaze moved over him without hesitation. I wasn't pretending otherwise. I was taking him in. And he was doing the same. The air between us grew heavier, charged. He didn't rush. He didn't need to. Neither of us did. My hand moved before I could stop it. "You're on private property," I managed to say. My hand was still moving toward his chest.
"I know. I don't have a pool,"
he replied calmly. His voice was low, certain, yet it had started to take on that rough, gravelly edge. He still didn't move. "It's too small for swimming," I added, my voice already trembling.
I know. I didn't come here to swim.
He added. He moved. Just slightly, but the distance between us was now smaller. It was disappearing. "Then why?" I whispered. His gaze darkened. His warm fingers found mine.
To find you.
A whisper, and deep, uneven breathing. The world around us disappeared. He reached for me. And I didn't move away. I only trembled, while he gently kissed my hand, then my wrist. "Why?"
I want you.
The heat between us kept rising, and the distance shrank with every movement and every breath. He lifted my hand to the back of his neck and threaded my fingers into his hair. He didn't look away, and neither did I. I couldn't. His arms slowly slid around my waist and pulled me closer. Tight. I pressed myself against him, just as eagerly. While one of his hands was already exploring my body, his lips slowly, steadily moved closer to mine. At first, gently, as if he was still holding himself back. But he wasn't succeeding. His lips became more demanding, more possessive. The kisses deeper, more intense. A breath, a shaky sigh. He lifted me slightly, pulling me tightly against him. And instinctively, I wrapped my legs around his hips, holding on to him as if I didn't want any space left between us. My breath hitched as the tension between us peaked, everything becoming overwhelming, blurred, uncontrollable. There was no distance left. Only him. He stopped. He pulled me back to him, lifted me into his arms, and carried me to the lounger. This time, he didn't rush me. He was glowing with satisfaction, slipped his arm beneath my head and pulled me into an embrace. Then we settled. Silence felt enough. He covered us with a towel and held me close. We fell asleep. There, out in the open. Beneath the evening sky. Wrapped around each other, tired, and content.
I woke up before the sun. For a moment, I stayed completely still, my eyes still closed. I could feel the first rays of sunlight brushing against my face, filtering through the leaves above. My thoughts drifted to the woman lying gently curled against me. I opened my eyes, and my gaze fell on her. She was completely still in her sleep. Peaceful, as if last night had never happened. But it had, and it had been damn good. I exhaled, running my fingers nervously through my hair. I didn't regret it. And it wasn't a mistake, but it was definitely a problem. Since she came back, we hadn't really talked. In fact, we hadn't talked at all, and we needed to. Before it was too late. I watched her sleeping face. I wanted to touch her, to wake her with a kiss. I lifted my hand toward her face, and stopped. I knew what would follow. I would stay, and that wasn't something I could afford. Not today. Not now. I have to go to work. I exhaled softly, as if that somehow justified my leaving. I shifted slightly, and her arm instinctively tightened around me. I exhaled, getting restless, reluctant to leave her warm embrace. Slowly, carefully, I slipped out of her arms, trying not to wake her, knowing that if she did, I wouldn't be able to leave. We would most likely end up exactly where we had left off the night before. Quietly, I got dressed. One look at her made my heart skip for a second. Damn it, I muttered under my breath. I still cared about her. And the last time we were together, I had ruined everything. I ran a hand through my hair with a bitter half-smile, gathered my clothes, gently covered her shoulders, and left. I really had to get to work. A meeting was waiting for me with an important client, one that could bring a significant financial boost to my company. I glanced back once more. It took effort, but I turned away and left. Made strong coffee, took a shower, and dressed in my business clothes. Poured coffee into 2 cups, one for myself, one for her.
Coffee, I murmured softly as a familiar scent reached me. I reached toward the lounger, then opened my eyes. First to the sky, then to the space beside me. The place where he had been just hours ago. Now, empty. Cold. You really are a naive fool, I scolded myself. It had been too good to be true. I sat up. Angry. Disappointed. At him, or at myself, I wasn't sure. I reached for my robe when that same intoxicating smell of coffee reached me again. The same one that had woken me earlier. I turned my head. There. On the small table, within arm's reach, stood a cup of coffee. Still warm. A faint stream of steam rose from it, carrying that irresistible aroma. For a moment, I just stared, then smiled. My mood lifted instantly. I didn't wonder where it came from. I knew. I needed it. I took a long, satisfying sip. Ah, perfect. Just the way I like it. Still holding the cup in my hand, I pulled on my robe and headed into the shower. I didn't regret the night before. It was too good. It had been far too long since someone had paid that much attention to me. At the memory of it, the heat, the strong hands exploring every inch of my body, I flushed. My skin grew warm all over again. I need to distract myself. Best to focus on work.